morning, everybody. I'm Denise Smiler, Chair of the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board. Before we begin, I'd like to ask, consistent with the board's policy, that everyone in the room please wear your mask unless you are presenting, at which time it can be removed. Thank you for your cooperation. With a quorum of 6 board members present and Commissioner Logan on the phone. Commissioner Logan, are you there?
I am, Madam Chair, and can hear you. Thanks.
Excellent. I'd like to call today's meeting to order. For the record, I would note that in addition to the 7 board members, we also have representing our ex officio members, Fred Strathmeyer, representing Russell Redding, Secretary for the Department of Agriculture, Kristen Heidingsfelder, representing Daniel Hassel, Secretary for the Department of Revenue, and Jennifer Langen, representing Stacy Garrity, State Treasurer. Thank you all for joining us. As the first order of business, I would ask everyone to please stand and join me in a recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So first, we're going to have presentations of service awards for Gaming Control Board employees that will be made by our Executive Director, Kevin O'Toole. Kevin?
Good morning, Chair Smiler, members of the board. This morning, I'm very pleased to continue the process of the Gaming Control Board to recognize key employees who have exhibited outstanding work and loyalty to their employer, the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board, and have reached certain milestones in their career with us. We have been doing this for 3 or 4 years now. We recognize 10-year service awards and 15-year service awards. So for this morning, I have Jay Lancey to my right, who is one of the persons we're recognizing today, and we have Jerry Fariola on my left. So I would like to also just take note of the fact that we currently have 315 employees in our complement here at the Gaming Control Board. And of those 315, 179 of those employees have reached 10 years of service with our agency. That represents 59% of our total complement. And of those 315, we also 60 of those employees have reached 15 years of service, which represents 19% of our employees. So it's very exciting to realize that our employees, value us as their employer, and we certainly get an opportunity this morning to tell them that we value them as employees. So let me start with our 15-year service award recipients. To my left is Jerry Fariola. Jerry was hired on October the 6th, 2006 as an investigator for the Bureau of Investigations and Enforcement, assigned to the Southeast region. Over his career, Jerry has led or participated in a large number of very significant investigations for the Bureau of Investigations and Enforcement, and he continues to serve the agency in that capacity today. He is the case agent for Harris Chester, so he has put in a substantial amount of work on the renewal that you'll be addressing today. Jerry, I'd like to congratulate you and thank you for your service to the board.
Thank you.
And also present to you. Our 10-year anniversary recipient, Jay Lancey, sitting to my right. Jay was hired on November the 12th, 2011 as a hearing officer for our Office of Hearings and Appeals. He continues to serve the agency in that role today. Now, granted, you have not seen Jay very many occasions. You may have walked by him in the food court and not known who he was, but you certainly have seen his work product as one of our 2 hearing examiners, and he does an outstanding job of dealing with some very difficult, at times, contested hearings that eventually come before the board. So, Jay, I'd like to congratulate you and thank you for your service. And before I conclude, I would like to recognize certain other individuals who have attained that 15-year service with the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board. From our Bureau of Licensing, we have Celeste Chacon, our licensing analyst, and also Carrie DeMaria from our licensing analyst. From our Bureau of Investigations and Enforcement, I'd like to recognize Lorenzo Dorsey, investigator, Al Frank, an investigator, and Dave Briga, an investigator. From our Bureau of Casino Compliance, Patty Gustafson, Casino Compliance Senior Supervisor, and Celine Jackson, a Casino Compliance Supervisor assigned to the Rivers Casino in Pittsburgh. And from our Bureau of Gaming Operations, Chris Ferris, an iGaming Compliance Representative, and from our Office of Sports Wagering Operations, our Sports Wagering Compliance Representative, Wes Davenport. So that concludes our award ceremony for this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, guys,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you, Kevin, and thanks to all of you for your years of service to the board and to the citizens of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. By way of announcements, the board held an executive session yesterday, Tuesday, December 14th, to discuss personnel matters, ongoing litigation, and to conduct quasi-judicial deliberations relating to matters coming before the board. We have one public hearing this morning that pertains to the Category 1 license renewal of Chester Downs and Marina LLC, doing business as Harrah's Philadelphia Racetrack and Casino. Before we begin, I would ask that all non-attorneys who will be presenting evidence today in this proceeding be sworn in by the court reporter.
I do.
Thank you. I would also ask that everyone who's going to speak to please state and spell your name for the court reporter prior to making your presentation. So, Harris, you may begin.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Smiler, members of the commission. My name is Steve Schreier, and I'm with the law firm of Blank Rome LLP. I'm here on behalf of Chester Downs and Marina LLC, which does business as Harrah's Philadelphia Casino and Racetrack.
Steve, can you just spell your name for the court reporter, please?
S-C-H-R-I-E-R.
Thank you.
With me today is my colleague Gregory Bailey. It's my pleasure to be here today, seeking your approval for the renewal of Chester Downs Category 1 slot machine license. As you know, Chester Downs is owned through a series of intermediary companies by Caesars Entertainment Incorporated. And to my right and behind me are members of the Harrah's Philadelphia and Caesars Entertainment team. Sitting next to me on my right is Chris Albrecht, who is the Senior Vice President and General Manager of Harrah's Philadelphia. And next to him is John Koster, who is the Eastern Regional President of Caesars Entertainment. Also with us today here in the audience is Nicholas Capriati, who's the Vice President of Finance, Matthew Connor, who's the Vice President of Security and Facilities, Natisha Palmatier, who is the Regulatory Compliance Manager, Patty Kane, who is the Vice President of Human Resources, Joseph Tyrell, who's the Vice President of Government Relations, and Bessie Sacco, who is the Vice President and Chief Counsel regional operations for Caesars Entertainment. I'd like to provide the board with a bit of history about this license renewal. On September 27th, 2006, the board approved Chester Downs for a conditional Category 1 slot machine license. On December 20th, 2006, the board approved Chester Downs for a Category 1 slot machine license, which was ultimately issued by the board in 2008. The board approved the first renewal of the Cat 1 license, which was issued in February of 2010. The second renewal of Harrah's license occurred in February of 2015. So between then and now, Harrah's also has obtained an interactive gaming permit, which was approved by the board in August of 2018, and a sports wagering certificate approved by the board in October of 2018. So this licensee now operates sports wagering and interactive gaming in addition to the on-site gaming offerings that it has at the property. Also significant since the last renewal in February of 2015, Chester Downs was acquired by Eldorado Resorts Incorporated when Eldorado merged with Caesars Entertainment Corporation. In August of 2019, Chester Downs and Eldorado filed a joint petition with the board seeking approval of this change of ownership, and the board issued an order approving the change on February 12th of 2020. The merger between these two companies was completed in July of 2020. Because of this change of ownership, which is relatively recent, Chester Downs will provide a bit more information about the new combined company during this hearing. Chester Downs timely submitted its third Category 1 slot machine renewal application in 2019, which is the basis for us being here with you today. A public input hearing was held as required by the Act and the board's regulations on June 30th, 2021, which took place at Chester City Hall at the City Council chambers. You have before you all the evidence and the testimony that was produced at that public input hearing. Notably, there was very favorable testimony presented by the Honorable Thaddeus Kirkland, who is the mayor of Chester, as well as State Senator John Kane and Sam Beagle, who is the head of the Pennsylvania Harness Horsemen's Association, as well as other important stakeholders in the community. I would now like to introduce you to John Koster, who is the regional president of the Eastern region of Caesars Entertainment, and give you a little bit of background on John. He was named the Eastern Region President in June of 2021 with direct oversight on 5 properties in this Eastern region. He has 43 years of hotel and gaming experience in 5 countries as well as 9 states, and 30 years of experience as a general manager for casinos or a regional president. So Mr. Koster is a highly knowledgeable executive, and I'm pleased to introduce him to the board. John?
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Great to be here in Pennsylvania, directors. I just want to go on record as saying that I did spend some time in the great Keystone State. My dad broadcasted, I think it was on KDKA in the early 60s. Got to meet Roberto Clemente and Willie Stargell, got their autographs. The Pirates were good, the Steelers were bad.
Mr. Costa, some things don't change. No, but no, okay. Could you just state your name and spell it?
John Kenneth Koster, John Kenneth Koster. I'm the regional president for Caesars in the East, which includes Harrah's Atlantic City, Caesars Atlantic City, Tropicana Atlantic City, Horseshoe Baltimore, and of course, Harrah's Chester Casino and Racetrack.
Thank you.
Harrah's Philadelphia also. It's got a couple of names there. Anyway, I'm very happy to be back. Of course, we moved to Harrisburg, believe it or not. Left in about 1968, and then Chuck Knoll came in 1969, and the rest is history. No matter what country I've been in or state, I have remained loyal to the black and gold. And I've golfed with Ben Roethlisberger, Jerome Bettis, and Heinz Ward. So I'm definitely a Steelers supporter. Sorry for all of you that are Eagle fans. Anyway, and I'm sure I've insulted a few people already. But anyway, I've had a lot of experience. I've been all over the world, and I was really quite happy to, if you will, work with El Dorado Resorts. I had been 19 and a half years with the Caesars Legacy Group, Harrah's, and then with Caesars, and then had been moved up to Lake Tahoe as a regional president in '05. I left in 18, got picked up by El Dorado Resorts, moved to the Grand Victoria Casino in Illinois in November of 18 to be general manager of a riverboat, which I'd never been before. And then, a few months in, I found out that we were about to try to acquire my old company. So needless to say, I was excited to hear about that. Helped Mr. Reeg and Mr. Carano and Gary and Anthony as much as I could. And unbelievably, on July 20th, 2020, we acquired my old company, and I was moved back to Lake Tahoe on that day into my old office with my old team, and guess what? July 20th is my birthday. So that could not have been a better present. What a great combination of companies we have. The old Caesars Legacy, which had a lot of strengths, obviously Caesars Rewards with 65 million now combined customers is the biggest in the industry. With the ERI Legacy, a family-style service approach, and they've got a better expense control model, let's say. So what a wonderful combination of companies we have. So after being in Lake Tahoe for about 7 or 8 months, I got the call from Tom and Anthony, and they said, guess what? We want to move you out of Lake Tahoe and to the East Coast, where I grew up. I was born in Albany, so New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia. Graduated from FIU back in '81 with a hotel degree, but I kind of liked Lake Tahoe, and it was very difficult for me to leave Lake Tahoe, although I did leave at the right time, just before the fires and all the smoke. So they transferred me in June of this year. And they said, look, you got $400 million, you got to work on the master plan there. You've got to work, there's some, GMs that are relatively new, so development opportunity there. And, we're doing a whole bunch of things on the East Coast. We've got more things to plan for Philadelphia and Baltimore. So it looked like an exciting way to, if you will, move into the fourth quarter of my career. So they were really very, very nice and supportive, and I can't be happier now on the East Coast. Although I do look forward to the occasional trip back to Tahoe, where they just got 76 inches of snow on top of the mountains there. So anyway, I'm very pleased to be here. And by the way, in terms of our company, and this is amazing when you just start taking a look at it, 53 properties in 16 states and Canada, 10 billion in revenues, 115 million annual guest visits, which is pretty amazing, 47,000 hotel rooms, 500 plus restaurants and bars, 9,000 shows, 350 retail stores, and 16,000 meetings. The meetings business, by the way, is coming back nice. It's good to see in Vegas, Atlantic City, New Orleans. It's starting to come back, and it's good to see. Things are bouncing back nicely. Chris has done a great job for us. He's been, I believe, 5 years now as our Senior Vice President and General Manager at Harrah's in Philadelphia with the track, which is, by the way, doing, I think, almost as good as it's ever done. It had a couple of all-time record days, I think, this year. So we have a lot of good things in store for the future, and it's great to be working for a company that we're now working for. They're very supportive. They're open to suggestions and ideas, and I think that we represent, a great opportunity to continue to build in all the states we're in. And again, with that total Caesars Rewards loyalty program that we have, which is the biggest in the industry, it does keep our customers under our roof, and it's a great advantage we have versus the competition. Well, if there are no questions for me, I would like to then introduce Chris Albrecht, our Senior Vice President and General Manager of Harrah's Philadelphia and Racetrack.
Thank you, John. That's Chris Albrecht, C-H-R-I-S, Albrecht, A-L-B as in boy, R-E-C-H-T. So thank you for the opportunity today to be in front of you to talk about our wonderful property, Harrah's Philadelphia and Chester. As you can see from the photos up here, this is our site pre the build of the casino, so the former Sun Shipping building in Chester right there on the waterfront. And we were able to build our beautiful facility right there and open back in September of 2006 as one of the first Category 1 casinos to open in Pennsylvania. Our racetrack opening then, and then the casino following shortly after that in January of 2007. So we just celebrated our 15 years of racing at the property, and we're about to celebrate 15 years at the casino. So that brownfield site was turned into, again, our wonderful property we have here today, 200,000 square feet of both casino, racing level, meeting space, restaurants within our facility. We've invested almost $500 million in building Harrah's Philadelphia and continuing to make improvements over the past 15 years. We've employed a wonderful workforce that has welcomed over 42 million visitors to our property over those 15 years, generating $4.2 billion in gross gaming revenue. We've spent again, almost $500 million on employing that wonderful workforce that we have. And we've done a lot to focus on our local community, both in investing in it with our time and our money outside of the taxes that we pay, as well as hiring a lot of our team members from within the Pennsylvania area and within Delaware County. Even though we do reside, at the tri-state border there with New Jersey and Delaware not too far away, we still do hire a lot from within Pennsylvania. Our footprint today has changed a little bit over those 15 years, but we think we have a very strong and compelling gaming product for our customers to come visit us at. After our recent approval, we now have 1,700 slot machines on the gaming floor. We created a lot of great new aisleways and comfortable banks for our guests. That was an approval we did earlier this year, and that work was completed back in September, and we're getting a lot of tremendous feedback from our guests on that new look and feel at our property. 77 table games and electronic table games at our facility. And in January of 2019, we opened our Caesars Sportsbook in the back of our property. Just a great space, huge video display there, and getting a lot of great response from our guests on that. And like other companies in the Commonwealth, we've entered the online gaming space through Harrah's Philadelphia. I'm sure many of you have been seeing our recent new ads on our sportsbook with JB Smoove there as Caesar. We also, this past July, launched our WSOP, really our industry-leading poker brand for online poker. And our Caesars Online Casino also launched last year, honestly, right around the time of the pandemic. We have a great food and beverage offering for our customers at Harrah's Philadelphia. Our Philly Tap and Tavern offers a lot of local favorites that they enjoy. The Market offers a quick service experience for our guests. Mien, our noodle bar, offers a great offering for our Asian customers. And we also have a food court on our second floor that has a Krispy Kreme, a Philly Steak Shack, and our recently opened Kickin' Chicken, which really speaks to the chicken sandwich craze that's going on around the country. Since our last renewal, we have continued to invest both in our property and within the Commonwealth overall, certainly adding both an iGaming license and a sports betting license for both our online and our brick and mortar sports business. We built our casino sportsbook in the casino itself. We spend a lot in just general maintenance of the building, but also improvements for our customer experience. Slots is still the biggest part of our business, so we invest in a lot of new slot product on an annual basis to make sure we're very current with all the latest and greatest machines out there. We've recarpeted our casino floor in the last couple of years, added new slot chairs, table chairs. Again, a lot of amenities to help improve the guest experience. And we also have invested about $1 million in racetrack improvements over the last 5 years. We do a lot to attract customers to our facility. As John mentioned, being a part of Caesars Rewards is a big advantage for us, for guests to choose us. But we also give a lot of free slot play offers and offer a lot of events and promotions. In the building, you see some of our winners here through different card giveaways, jackpot drawings, hot seats, gift and gift cards, slot tournaments, blackjack tournaments, a variety of ways to make the experience exciting and compelling for customers to come visit us at Harrah's Philadelphia. We are strongly committed to harness racing. That's why we have a casino here in the Commonwealth. Certainly a lot of our tax money goes towards that, but we also put a lot of energy and effort into our product. Our new organization, our new merged Caesars, actually added a position, a senior vice president of racing, that not only helps our racetrack here in Chester, but also the other racetracks within our company in Indiana, Ohio, and Florida. So that was a new attention to detail on racing as an overall company. Our racing operation has about 70 individuals, including our vendors who help support that operation for us. And as John was referencing in his speech there, that we've actually seen a nice resurgence really in the last year in attraction to our racetrack product. And 2 of the top 5 handle days in our history have actually happened earlier this year. And we're anticipating Christmas Eve might also be another day that we crack our top 5. So just a lot of great support for our racing business going on despite all these challenging times around us. Our operation has contributed over $2 billion in taxes and fees since we were licensed 15 years ago. Certainly the majority of that comes from the slot side of the business, being it was first. It's our largest revenue generator, and it's the highest tax. Of course, that's where most of this comes from. But as you can see, the sportsbook and iGaming are starting to pick up as they've been added over the last couple of years. Being a part of Caesars Entertainment also brought our strong code of commitment as a company. That's something that's really survived a lot of the change and mergers over the years. The code of commitment is truly a pledge that our company has both to our team members, our customers, and the communities that we operate in. It's really a foundation for all that we do, and it's a big part of what we do and believe in at Harrah's Philadelphia. And we're committed to having a strong, diverse workforce, both as a company and as a property at Harrah's Philadelphia. In fact, a few years ago, our organization put out a commitment to get to 50-50 equity of male and female team members across all parts of the organization by 2025. And recently, our new organization added a commitment to getting to 50-50 for both folks of color and those not. So a strong commitment on diversity across the board for our organization. Here you can see at Harrah's Philadelphia, we are 59% team members are minority, 41% are women. As I mentioned, 76% of our team members do come from the Commonwealth, 45% within Delaware County, and then lastly, 36% of our workforce is union affiliated. We have 5 unions that we work with: Unite Here, Teamsters, Laborers, the Carpenters, and IBEW. Our company and our property, we put a lot, like I said, investment into our team members, and beyond the pay that we provide for them, there's a lot of tremendous benefits that our company offers, and a few that we've actually added since the merger. All of our team members get a free meal, free parking in the building. We do a 401k match. We have a strong paid time off program. We provide assistance for employees that want to go back to get their education. We offer a lot of discounts for our team members when they want to use our property amenities and other casinos within our network. But recently this year, there were some exciting things we added. So this year, for the first time, John and I were talking since we can remember, all team members within our company received a gratitude bonus for the year. So that was a very exciting thing that received tremendous response. And really, that was a thank you for getting through this really challenging year as an organization. And that was a give back across the board for the company. So very exciting. We were able to roll that out this December. And then again, through this pandemic, we've been offering a lot of opportunities for our guests to get their COVID vaccine, and have hosted several events on site with all different versions of the vaccine, Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson, to hopefully help them take care. And then during the closures last year, we paid all of our team members not just their wages, but their tips as well for those positions for 2 weeks during our first closure, and then all 3 weeks when we closed last December through January. And we're continuing to look for more team members. So we're out there and really trying to get back out there. It's been hard over the past year and a half to interact and find new talent in this environment, but we're back hosting job events on site and looking forward into 2022, really getting back out in the community with the various universities and colleges we've partnered with in the past, workforce development organizations and things like that, to really help continue to fill a lot of the jobs that we have open. And pre-pandemic, we were very proudful to be one of the top places to work within the Philadelphia area for 5 of the previous 6 years. Responsible gaming is a big part of the core of Harrah's Philadelphia and Caesars overall. Our company has really been at the forefront of responsible gaming, being really the first in our industry across a lot of fronts, the first to ever broadcast and advertise, the first to offer a national toll-free hotline for responsible gaming. And all of our casinos within our company, when someone gets banned as a patron or excluded in a certain state, we do that across the board. So if that happens to someone in New Jersey or Nevada, we'll exclude them here in Pennsylvania, again, as part of our responsible gaming initiative. We're also extremely focused on the unattended minor issue. I know that's been a point with the board very recently. We were very committed pre that, but also have taken a renewed focus and have partnered with the OEC to make some what we consider strong changes to our operation to improve and hopefully mitigate the amount of unattended minors we have. The biggest change for us was to move to a mandated security position for us, which means that person always has to be on duty as an exterior rover to our building 24/7. So there'll always be someone roving our garage areas, doing their best to make sure that there's no one left in a vehicle out there. We were also purchased a new patrol vehicle for the team and got them new uniforms that make them easier to identify, and gave them some new lights that they can use to shine into vehicles and again help spot for any issues there may be out there. We train our team members on an annual basis in responsible gaming and unattended minors, and any new hire that comes to our facility has to be trained on both of those before they can get started. Our surveillance team also has added 34 new cameras across locations where a minor may be left unattended. This includes our parking garage, our surface lot, as well as our second floor simulcast racing level. So these are all high definition cameras added to really help improve their visibility in those spaces. And we believe we've always had a strong presence on signage on our property, again, as an organization that takes this seriously, but we've also added a few more, again, just to really continue to push and make sure parents are acting responsibly. We are very committed within our community, beyond just, as I said, the taxes we pay. Our property and our company give back to a lot of tremendous organizations within Chester and within Delaware County, $1.8 million. That includes funds from both Harris Philadelphia and our Caesars Foundation. That's part of our organization that gives back in all the communities we operate in. So between the Caesars Foundation and our casino, we've given back to a lot of these great organizations listed here, and others as well over the 15 years. Our team members also give their time beyond just the financial commitment. We have a volunteering program called HERO, Harris Employees Reaching Out. And as you can see, there's a variety of ways that we may get out there and spend our time planting trees, giving food, things like that to really give back to our community. And many of the leadership of my team also sits on a lot of the wonderful local board organizations that exist in Chester and Delaware County overall. And lastly, we remain very committed to using local vendors, both minority-owned, women-owned, and local vendors. As a large national organization, you can imagine we have a lot of national contracts, so we do a lot to make sure that we're focusing and finding opportunities to spend within our local marketplace when we can. So in closing, I just want to say thank you. We appreciate the partnership and being able to be a part of the Commonwealth, the city of Chester and Delaware County over the past coming up on 15 years as a casino. And thank you for your time, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Enforcement Counsel, do you have any questions?
Yes, Chair. Good morning. Ashley Gabriel, Gabrielle, for the Office of Enforcement Counsel. I'd like to turn to slide 7 of the presentation, A Promise Kept.
Yep, I got it. Sorry, I'm going. Yeah.
The overview section, the last line states over 70 million invested capital. Can you please explain exactly what is meant by this statement, over 70 million invested capital?
470?
I'm sorry?
Over 470 million?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, so the majority of that went towards the initial build of the property, the license fee at opening, and then the remainder is investments we've made as a property over time, but the majority of that would be from the opening and build of the original facility.
Do you have any specific examples of the expenditures that add up to that $470 million figure?
We can
the property?
We can certainly break down other items for you there, but yes, as you saw on the other slide, that has the investment since the last renewal. Then there would have been investment between the opening and the original renewal as well. But we can certainly give you further detail breakdown if it needed.
Okay, if you want, we can go ahead to slide 10, which referred to commitment to property investment, where you had more specifics there. Yes. So with regard to the $6.5 million in general capital maintenance spend, what exactly does that include?
Yeah, that includes a variety of things on an annual basis. We have both items that will need to get updated and fixed, and sometimes we add new things to the property. So someone may need a new piece of kitchen equipment, a carpet may need to be repaired, our garage may need repair, or we use that money for new things like we added 2 new display signs out in front of our building for our customers to market to them out there, or we might need new chairs for an operation. So they can be a mix of both maintenance fixing items and new enhancements enhancements for the customer experience or the employee experience. We also invest in our team members, redo our employee dining room, or buy things that enhance the team member experience as well.
Okay. And staying on the same slide, when you take a look at the statement, 4.5 million plus in new slot product over the last 3 years, approximately how much of this 4.5 million plus was spent on the maintenance of existing slot machines?
None. So maintenance we usually handle through our operating expense. That's all for new slot machine purchases for the casino floor.
Okay. Were these new machines purchased to replace old ones?
Yes, they will usually take the place of an old machine, yes.
And do you have any specific expenditures that were made to enhance the property rather than those which may be more considered operating expenses or for upkeep or maintenance?
Yeah, again, a variety of these did go for customer enhancement. So the slot machines, I would say, are all for customer enhancement. The new sports book was for customer experience enhancement. We built a new entrance for our VIP customers this year. We added a beer garden to our outdoor patio 2 years ago. As I mentioned, those signs for our customer experience. We also built a private gaming room. We've also done some food and beverage capital over the years, though not all of those outlets have worked out over time, but we did invest and try to improve the experience for our guests through those. Just not every amenity has made it through various changes over the years, but a lot of the capital investment did go for new customer experience opportunities.
And what were the approximate $1 million spent in racetrack improvements?
A variety of things, but most of that money actually went towards the resurfacing of our racetrack a couple seasons ago. That was the significant portion of the spend went towards that.
Can I draw your attention to slide 8 of the presentation? State-of-the-art gaming experience. Yes. And where you state that you have 77 table games on the gaming floor?
Yes.
At the public hearing in June, you stated there were 71 table games. Have you added 6 new table games to the gaming floor since the public input hearing, or have you placed more existing table games in operation as more patrons are returning to the property post-COVID?
Yeah, we haven't made any changes. This is an error on our part to a degree. So at the last hearing, we only stated the amount of physical table games we have, but when we report our numbers to the state, we actually include our electronic table games in the number. So that's why the 77 is here. And technically, yesterday we got approved a new OP that actually has us at 76, if we want to be up to date. But yes, that is inclusive of our electronic table games now. We didn't add any table product. We actually removed table games prior to our slot reduction to create additional space.
Okay. Can I draw your attention to slide 9 of the presentation, food and beverage?
Yes.
The steakhouse remained closed as of the public input hearing in June. Are all of Harrah's food and beverage facilities now open?
They're not. The steakhouse does remain closed today.
Okay. Are the establishments that are open providing full service to Harrah's patrons, or are there any COVID-19 restrictions in place?
There are currently no restrictions, and we are offering full service at the open outlets.
Can I draw your attention to slide 12 of the presentation? That would be the commitment to harness racing. $150 live racing days per year were reported at the public input hearing in June. Are there still 150 live racing days per year?
This season will be 150 race days. At the last Racing Commission meeting, we received approval with our horsemen support for 130 race days for 2022.
Okay. Can I draw your attention to slide 15, who we are? You state that 76% of your team members are Pennsylvania residents, and you listed this figure as one of your major accomplishments. That was earlier in your presentation on slide 7. Under Section 13A04 of the Pennsylvania Racehorse Development and Gaming Act, there's a goal that Pennsylvania residents comprise at least 85% of slot machine licensees' table game employees. Do you have a goal to raise your overall team member percentage of 76% with regard to Pennsylvania residents.
And we understand and appreciate the goal. And, given our location where we are, obviously a lot of our team members do reside in Delaware and New Jersey, just given their proximity. And in fact, many of our team members that started out living in the community have moved out to different locations. So we do focus all of our hiring events, and as I mentioned earlier, partnerships with local workforce development within Chester. So those are how we kind of really try to focus in on the community hiring there. But we understand the goal, we appreciate the goal, and those are the kind of things we do to try and gear towards it, but just given our proximity, it is hard to nudge all the way up there.
And then also taking a look at your stats regarding your team members and minorities and women, and the objective that you mentioned earlier in the presentation of the 50-50, I think you said by 2025?
That's correct, yes.
How are the strategies you're using to recruit women and minorities in your executive team and management team different from your overall recruitment strategies?
Absolutely, we do a lot more engagement with our folks to really try and help promote advancement and career opportunities. We have a few programs that we actually do that help promote that. Savvy is our team member engagement for our women team members. We have a Male Allies program that supports that Savvy program. We've done a lot of unconscious bias training for all of our leaders to make sure they understand the opportunity and to really kind of understand what biases they may take into the hiring processes. We do a lot of promoting and sponsoring for our various diverse workforce to make sure they understand the opportunities are available to them. We bring in leaders from other properties that have great stories about advancement through our organization, both women and minority leaders as well at our property and others. So a lot of different ways that we engage that group to really help promote opportunities within our company.
And can I draw your attention to slide 16 of the presentation? That's the creator of family-sustaining jobs. Does Harris Philadelphia have any part-time positions?
We do.
And do you know what percentage of Harris Philadelphia's team members are part-time, or the number of part-time positions?
I believe it was 83 is the number of part-time team members that we have.
Okay. And the benefits that you mentioned here, are they also afforded to part-time employees?
Other than health benefits, the majority of these benefits also apply for our part-time team members, including the gratitude bonus. They received a prorated gratitude bonus as well. So most of these do apply to them other than health benefits.
And I see that COVID vaccinations are offered on-site at your facility, and in your presentation, you mentioned that they were available for guests. Does Harris Philadelphia have a policy addressing employees receiving the COVID-19 vaccine?
Only that our company highly encourages everyone to get the vaccination. That's the only thing we have right now, no mandates or anything like that.
I have no further questions, Chair.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Commissioner Logan, do you have any questions or comments?
Just one, Madam Chair. I mean, it's slightly addressed in the presentation, but to John or Chris, above and beyond any of the legislatively mandated taxes, any agreements that you have with organizations or community groups, will those continue?
Yes, we have separate agreements with both the City of Chester and Delaware County beyond the Commonwealth legislated ones, and those will continue into the future.
Okay, thank you, and I appreciate your community support.
Any other questions or comments from the board? I actually have one, in a follow-up to Enforcement Counsel's question about minorities and women in the management positions. She asked,
Yes.
how do you recruit them? Can you tell us what is the percentage of minorities or women that are currently in management?
Yep. So in our leadership supervisor and above population, we're at 50% minority, 35% women. And then at our, what we call our sort of executive manager and above, our higher level group at the property, we're at 40% women, 25% minority. So we do have a lot of work to go to get to those goals by 2025, but all those programs I discussed are helping us get better in those areas.
Okay. Well, one other question. All of the improvements you made to address unattended children in cars, have you seen, have they been effective? from what?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they can't stop the parents from doing it, but our team has been catching them in a very short manner. So incidents that have come in the past few months have all been handled within a very quick time frame. I know 1 second is too long, but we definitely have not seen any sort of lengthy issues. But unfortunately, parents continue to do this terrible thing.
Thank you. If there are no further questions from the board, Enforcement Counsel, do you have a presentation you'd like to make?
James Armstrong for the Office of Enforcement Counsel. Chair, Commissioners, the Office of Enforcement Counsel wishes to enter 5 new exhibits into the record that will update the exhibits entered into the record at the public renewal hearing on June 30th. These new exhibits have been provided to the board and Harris, Philadelphia. The Pennsylvania State Police have provided OEC with an up-to-date Uniform Crime Reporting System report on December 2nd, 2021 for the period of June 1st, 2021 through November 30th, 2021, addressing incidents at Harris, Philadelphia since May 31st, 2021. The Uniform Crime Reporting System report is Exhibit 1. Commissioners, on November 30th, 2021, the Bureau of Liquor Control Enforcement issued a letter to OEC stating that there have been no new investigations opened at Harris, Philadelphia since it reported to OEC on June 10th, 2021. The Bureau of Liquor Control Enforcement's letter is Exhibit 2. Exhibit 3 consists of 13 consent agreements between OEC and Harris, Philadelphia, dating from April 29th, 2015 to November 12th, 2021. Exhibit 4 consists of 11 compliance conference memorandums between OEC and Harris, Philadelphia, dating from October 5th, 2017 to January 14th, 2020. And Exhibit 5 consists of 54 OEC warning letters and Harris, Philadelphia's response letters dating from April 7th, 2015 to May 24th, 2021. Chair, Commissioners, Exhibits 3, 4, and 5 are only accessible through the access link that has been provided to the board. And also, OEC requested Exhibit 4, the OEC compliance conference memorandums, and Exhibit 5, the OEC warning letters and Harris response letters, be marked and kept confidential. OEC requests that Exhibits 1 through 5 be admitted into the record, with the additional request that Exhibits 4 and 5 be kept confidential. Thank you.
Any objection from Harris?
No objection to the introduction of those documents and exhibits into evidence or to the confidentiality.
And do you have any other questions for Office of Enforcement Counsel?
I do not.
Any questions or comments from the board for the Office of Enforcement Counsel? Commissioner Logan?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Well, thank you then. That concludes this proceeding. The board is scheduled to take this matter up
Chair
during the...
Smiler, may I just do a quick closing,
Oh,
if that's okay?
certainly.
I just had one more thing to say, and effectively, based on the evidence that we've heard today, and the evidence from the public input hearing, and the suitability report, I would respectfully submit that Chester Downs has met its burden of proof for renewal of its Category 1 slot machine license, and I would ask that you approve its license renewal. And I also wanted to thank the board and the board staff, particularly in licensing, in gaming operations and compliance, Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement, Office of Enforcement Counsel, for all of their efforts over the past few years, which have been very challenging, and I thank them for working cooperatively with Harris and its team in getting us to this day today. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Counsel, did you move your presentation into...
No, but I would like to do that as well. Thank you for reminding me.
All right. Any objection by Enforcement
No
Counsel?
objection.
Okay.
No objection.
All right. So now that concludes our proceeding.
Thank you. Thank you.
The board is scheduled to take this matter up for a vote during the Bureau of Licensing's portion of today's agenda. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Thank you, directors.
I can lift my chair so well.
It's over here, isn't it?
Oh, there you go. There you go. There you go. Okay. Next, we have consideration of a motion to approve the board meeting transcript and minutes. May I have such a motion?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Mustio moves that the board approve the minutes and transcript of the September 15th, 2021 meeting.
Commissioner Ralston seconds.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion is adopted. Again, we will now hear from Executive Director Kevin O'Toole. Oh, and just for the record, that was a motion to approve the transcript of September 15th, 2021. Yes, Kevin, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The first order of business for the Executive Director's report this morning is a request that the Board ratify the purchase of certain business-related insurance policies. These policies are the Board's Directors and Officers Liability Insurance, Employment Practices Liability Insurance, and the Excess Liability Insurance policies. The purchase of these policies are authorized by Section 1202 of the Pennsylvania Racehorse Development and Gaming Act and have been in place since 2006. The Office of Chief Counsel, working with Commissioner Mustio, and in consultation with the Department of General Services, Bureau of Risk and Insurance Management, secured the appropriate insurance policies, which went into effect upon the termination of the prior policies on December 5th, 2021. At this time, I would request a motion ratifying the Board's entry into these insurance purchase agreements.
Any questions or comments from the Board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Dermody moves that the Board ratify the purchase of the insurance policies described by the Executive Director.
Commissioner Manzano-Diaz, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion is adopted.
The next matter for the Board's consideration is the entry into a new lease arrangement for the Board's Eastern Regional Office, which serves as the headquarters for the Bureau of Investigations and Enforcement employees assigned to the Philadelphia region. The lease for our present office in Conshohocken is expiring on March the 9th, 2022. This necessitated the issuance of a solicitation for proposals by Amanda Peters, the Board's Procurement and Property Manager, which requested proposals for a reduced amount of office space from what the Board presently rents. After reviewing the proposals received, the Board's Evaluation Committee recommends that the Board enter into a 5-year lease with 2 2-year options with the Hudson Companies for new office space in Conshohocken. The square footage and the monthly rent for the new location are approximately 1/2 of the Board's present lease expenses for BIE's Eastern Regional Office. At this time, I would request a motion authorizing the Board's entry into this lease arrangement for a rental term beginning March the 1st, 2022.
Any questions or comments from the Board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Mustio moves that the Board approve the Executive Director finalizing the lease arrangement as described.
Commissioner Manzano-Diaz, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Next, we have Danette Bixler-George, Human Resources. Good morning, Danette.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members. The Office of Human Resources has 2 motions for your consideration today relative to the hiring of 2 individuals and the ratification of hiring of 2 individuals per the authority granted to the Executive Director for vacancies at Hollywood Casino York and Hollywood Casino Morgantown. Lee Capella has been selected as the Director of iGaming Compliance Operations in the Bureau of Gaming Operations. He has completed the interview process, background investigation, and drug screening, and is recommended for hire by Paul Resch, Director of Gaming Operations. Benjamin C. Graves has been selected as a sports wagering compliance representative in the Office of Sports Wagering Operations. The individual has completed the interview process, background investigations, and drug screening, and is recommended for hire by Kevin Kyle, Director of Sports Wagering Operations. Unless you have questions, I ask the Board consider a motion to approve the hiring actions as indicated.
Any questions or comments from the Board? Hearing none, may I have a motion on the applicants for hire as proposed by Human Resources, sorry.
Commissioner Ralston moves that the board approve the applicants for hire as proposed by the Human Resources Director.
Commissioner Regan seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted.
The second motion seeks to ratify the hiring of Karen Marquez as a casino compliance representative at Hollywood Casino Morgantown, and the hiring of Alexander Cummins as a casino compliance representative at Hollywood Casino York. Karen was approved by the Executive Director on November the 18th, 2021, and Alexander was approved by the Executive Director on December 6, 2021 for hire. This action is consistent with the board's order of July 14th, 2021, delegating authority to the board's executive director to approve hiring of individuals between board meetings to ensure adequate staffing at the Hollywood Casino York and Hollywood Casino Morgantown properties. Per that same order, finalization of any hires between board meetings is contingent upon the board ratifying the executive director's actions. As such, I ask that you consider a motion ratifying the hiring of Karen Marquez and Alexander Cummins.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion ratifying the executive director's hiring of board staff as described by the Human Resources Director?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Regan moves that the board ratify the executive director's hiring of board staff as described by the Human Resource Director.
Commissioner Dermody seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danette. Next is Chief Counsel Steve Cook.
Morning.
Good morning, Steve.
Today, the board has 8 petitions before it for consideration. Each of these petitions will be decided on the documentary record by agreement of the parties. In each of these matters, the board has, in advance of this meeting, been provided with the complete evidentiary record. Stadium Casino Westmoreland, RE LLC's petition to modify the gaming floor plan at the Live Casino Pittsburgh is the first petition before the board. Live Casino Pittsburgh is the holder of a Category 4 slot machine license and a table game certificate. The casino currently contains 750 slot machines and 28 table games on a 31,677 square foot gaming floor. Having now been in operation for more than a year, Live Pittsburgh is requesting to add 12 additional table games, including the establishment of a poker room with 7 poker tables. These additions will increase the number of table games in the gaming floor to 40 and increase the size of the gaming floor by 1,582 square feet. Live Pittsburgh also requests that certain information in its petition be maintained as confidential. The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection to Live's request, but proposes that the board impose several standard conditions which were outlined in OEC's answer, and this matter is now ripe for the board's consideration.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Dermody moves that the board grant Stadium Casino Westmoreland RE LLC's petition to modify its gaming floor plan as described by the Office of Chief Counsel and with the conditions to be outlined in the board's order. I further move that the board grant the petitioner's request for confidentiality.
Commissioner Mustillo seconds.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted.
Next before the board is Philadelphia Propco LLC's petition for approval of a change in their organizational structure. Philadelphia Propco owns the real estate upon which Harrah's Philadelphia Casino and Racetrack sits. Propco leases the real estate to Harrah's. Propco is 100% indirectly owned by Vici Properties Incorporated, a publicly traded real estate investment trust, or REIT. Vici is in the process of acquiring MGM Growth Properties, LLC, which is also a publicly traded REIT. In anticipation of this acquisition, Vici has created 2 subsidiaries, Vici Properties Holdco, LLC, and Vici Properties OP, LLC, solely to facilitate Vici's acquisition of MGM Growth Properties. Because these 2 new entities will be in the ownership chain of Philadelphia Propco, LLC, between Philadelphia Propco LLC and Vici Properties Incorporated. Affiliate license applications have been filed with the board for these two new subsidiaries, and this petition before the board seeks approval of this new organizational structure. The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection to the relief requested, subject to conditions outlined in its order or in its answer, and OEC also seeks confidentiality protection relative to some information in its answer, which Philadelphia Propco concurs in that request. Philadelphia Propco has filed a pleading with the board asserting that some of OEC's proposed conditions have either been fulfilled or not applicable to the proposed restructuring, and that matter will be addressed in the board's order. And this matter is now ripe for the board's consideration.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Commissioner Ralston moves that the board grant Philadelphia's Propco LLC's petition for approval of change in organizational structure as described by the Office of Chief Counsel and with the conditions to be outlined in the board's order. I further move that the board grant OEC's request for confidentiality.
Commissioner Manzano-Diaz, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted.
Next before the board is a joint petition from Crown PA Gaming Incorporated, Crown PA DFS Incorporated, and SB Tech Malta Limited. Crown PA Gaming Incorporated is an interactive gaming and sports wagering operator. Crown PA DFS Incorporated is a fantasy contest operator, and SB Tech Malta Limited is a sports wagering and interactive gaming manufacturer. The three petitioners are all indirect subsidiaries of DraftKings Incorporated, a publicly traded company and licensed affiliate of each of these petitioners. The petitioners are seeking approval of a corporate restructuring of DraftKings Incorporated related to a merger agreement which will result in the company acquiring Golden Nugget Online Gaming Incorporated. 3 new DraftKings subsidiaries have been created to effectuate this merger. They are New Duke Holdco, Inc., Duke Merger Sub, Inc., and Gulf Merger Sub, Inc. No changes to the 3 petitioners' direct ownership will take place as a result of this transaction. However, approximately 17% of its indirect upstream parent company ownership will be in new hands. All new entities created from the merger have applied for licensure with the board. The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection to this request for a change in corporate structure and indirect ownership, subject to several conditions outlined in its answer, and this matter is now ripe for the board's consideration.
Any questions or comments from the board? May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Manzano-Diaz moves that the board grant Crown PA Gaming, Inc., Crown PA DFS, Inc., and SB Tech Malta Limited's petition for approval of corporate restructuring as described by the Office of Chief Counsel and with the conditions to be outlined in the board's order.
Commissioner Mustia, seconds.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Next before the board is a third petition for approval of a change of organizational structure and modification in ownership. A petition has been filed by GLP Capital LP. GLP Capital LP is directly or indirectly wholly owned by Gaming and Leisure Properties Incorporated, a real estate investment trust that directly or indirectly owns and leases back the real estate to the Hollywood Casino at Penn National Racecourse, Hollywood Casino at the Meadows, and the soon-to-be-open Hollywood Casino Morgantown. GLP Capital LP anticipates entering into a series of real estate transactions where they will purchase and lease back the real estate upon which 3 live casinos are located. 2 of these casinos, Live Philadelphia and Live Pittsburgh, are located in the Commonwealth. The sellers of the real estate in each of these transactions will contribute the real estate in exchange, in part, for limited partnership interests in GLP Capital LP. In anticipation of these transactions, the proposed reorganization of the corporate structure will result in GLP Capital Partners, LLC, conveying its limited partnership interest to GLP Capital, or in GLP Capital LP to Gaming and Leisure Properties, Inc., effectively merging into GLPI. In addition to requesting the board's approval of these changes, the petitioner also requests that certain information pertaining to this petition be maintained as confidential. The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection to the relief requested in this matter, subject to the conditions outlined in its answer, nor does OEC object to the request for confidentiality. In fact, OEC has filed its own request for confidentiality relative to matters in its pleading, and this matter is now ripe for the board's consideration.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Mustillo moves that the board grant GLP Capital LP's petition for change in organizational structure as described by the Office of Chief Counsel, and with the conditions to be outlined in the board's order. I further move that the board grant the party's request for confidentiality.
May I have a second?
Commissioner Ralston seconds.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted.
Next before the board is Spin Games LLC's and Bragg Gaming Groups, Inc.'s joint petition seeking board approval of a change in control. By way of background, Spin Games LLC is a licensed interactive gaming manufacturer and limited liability company that provides aggregation services and interactive gaming content to interactive gaming operators and certificate holders in the Commonwealth. Bragg Gaming Group Incorporated is a publicly traded Canadian global gaming technology company. Bragg, along with affiliated entities, have applied for affiliate licenses with the board, and each of Bragg's principals have also applied for a principal license. On May 12th, 2021, Spin and Bragg entered into a member interest purchase agreement requiring the members of Spin to sell their right, title, and interest in Spin to Bragg. The parties now seek the board's approval of this transaction. The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection to the parties' request, subject to conditions outlined in their answer. Petitioners have also filed a request that 3 paragraphs in its petition be maintained as confidential, and the Office of Enforcement Counsel takes no exception to that request. This matter is now ripe for the board's consideration.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Commissioner Ralston moves that the board grant Spin Games LLC and Bragg Gaming Groups, Inc.'s joint petition for approval of change in control. I further move that the board grant the petitioner's request for confidentiality.
Commissioner Regan seconds.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion is adopted.
Next before the board is Alfie Pelzer's request for reconsideration of the board's previous denial of his Gaming Level 2 employee occupation permit renewal application. By way of background, Mr. Pelzer was licensed by the board, or has been licensed by the board since 2010. In September of 2020, Mr. Pelzer submitted a renewal application for a Gaming Level 2 employee occupation permit to continue work as an assistant manager of casino games at Harrah's Philadelphia Casino and Racetrack. On September 25th, 2020, as the board was conducting Mr. Pelzer's background investigation, he was issued a temporary credential, and thereafter in June of 2021, he was reissued a second temporary credential. On September 15th, 2021, the Office of Enforcement Counsel issued a notice of recommendation of denial of a renewal application based upon this gentleman, Mr. Pelzer's, failure to meet certain financial suitability requirements, as well as allegations that he worked for 1 month without a permit as he was late in filing his renewal application. Mr. Pelzer failed to respond to OEC's recommendation for denial, and on November 15th, 2021, the board issued an order denying his renewal application upon default. After receiving the order, Mr. Pelzer, through counsel, filed a request for reconsideration and provided documentation showing that he had been granted leave under the Family Medical Leave Act and was not able to reply to OEC's notice in a timely fashion. Additionally, the petition avers that the financial obligations, which were in part the basis for OEC's actions, have been largely addressed. The Office of Chief Counsel recommends that under circumstances, Mr. Pelzer's request for reconsideration be granted, that an evidentiary hearing be scheduled before the Board's Office of Hearings and Appeals, and that Mr. Pelzer be issued a temporary credential pending the outcome of those proceedings. And this is the matter that's before the Board.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Regan moves that the board grant Alfie Pelzer's request for reconsideration as described by the Office of Chief Counsel, that the matter be remanded to the Office of Hearings and Appeals for an evidentiary hearing, and that Mr. Pelzer be issued a temporary credential.
Commissioner Dermody seconds.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion is adopted.
The next petition before the board today is a request from an individual with the initials JS seeking removal from the board's self-exclusion list. On August 15, 2011, JS placed himself on the self-exclusion list and chose the lifetime exclusion option. Board regulations now allow for an individual who chose the lifetime exclusion option to petition the board for removal from the self-exclusion list after 10 years have elapsed from the date the person placed themselves on the list, so long as they complete a problem gambling assessment and follow through on any recommendations made as a result of that assessment. On August 4, 2021, JS filed his request for removal from the list, stating that he placed himself on the list to appease family members because other members of his family had gaming issues or gambling issues, but he himself did not have a gambling problem. OEC originally objected to this request, but prior to the scheduled hearing, JS provided documentation into the record showing that a certified assessment provider had evaluated JS, completed the appropriate gambling assessment, and recommended or stated that no treatment was recommended. With that recommendation and more than 10 years having passed, OEC dropped its objection to JS's removal from the self-exclusion list, and this is the matter presently before the board.
Any questions or comments from the board? May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Dermody moves that the board grant JS's petition for removal from the self-exclusion list as described by the Office of Chief Counsel.
Commissioner Ralston seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion is adopted.
The final petition before the board today is Max Raikkonen's request for removal from the involuntary exclusion list. On October 1st, 2016, Mr. Raikkonen, who was 20 years old at the time, accessed the gaming floor of Sugar House HSP Gaming LP, which is now doing business as Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Mr. Raikkonen at that time presented a false identification. After being on the floor for approximately 13 minutes, he was discovered, found to be underage, was charged with the summary offense, and evicted from the casino property. Thereafter, on August 9th, 2017, subsequent to a petition filed by the Office of Enforcement Counsel, Mr. Raikkonen was placed on the exclusion list until at least his 22nd birthday, at which time he was provided the opportunity to petition the board for removal from the list. Mr. Raikkonen is now 25 years old, is requesting for removal from the exclusion list, and OEC has no objection to that request, and this matter is now ripe for the board's consideration.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Commissioner Ralston moves that the board grant Max Raikkonen's petition for removal from PGCB's involuntary exclusion list as described by the Office of Chief Counsel.
Commissioner Manzano-Diaz, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted.
The next matter before the board today pertains to several unopposed petitions to withdraw applications or surrender the credentials of the following individuals or businesses: Melanie Ruth Gross, Lisa Ann Garner, Charles Philip Fortino, Benjamin Jeffrey Floyd, Denise Marie Clark, Caesars UK Holdings Limited, Claire Milne, John Jackson, Scott Marshall, Samuel Lawrence Levy, I-15 Media LLC, Stephen Hunter Hume, GW Cumberland Propco, Nicholas James Fahey, Enarto Limited, Thomas Dwan, Bartholomew Zakovich, and Matteo Carli. The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection to any of these requests, and as a result, if the board's inclined to grant the same, it would be doing so without prejudice to each of these parties.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Manzano-Diaz moves that the board issue orders to approve the withdrawals and the surrenders as described by the Office of Chief Counsel.
Commissioner Mustillo seconds.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Next before the board for consideration are 5 reports and recommendations received from the Office of Hearings and Appeals. These reports and recommendations, along with the complete evidentiary record for each hearing, have been been provided to the board in advance of this meeting. Additionally, each person that is the subject of these reports and recommendations have been notified that the matter was being taken up today and that they had the opportunity to briefly come before the board and address the board before a vote. If any of these persons are present today and wish to address the board, I'd ask them to come forward when their matter is called. The first report and recommendation before the board pertains to Barbara Deaver. By way of background, in May of 2010, Ms. Deaver received a gaming employee occupation permit to work as in an application support position with SG Gaming Incorporated. Ms. Deaver has been with her employer for 20 years and is licensed in 15 states. According to the records in this case, she had never had incidents with regarding to her licensure. And in February of 2019, Ms. Deaver submitted her 3rd Pennsylvania renewal application to continue her work with SG Gaming. In April of 2021, after 2 years of board staff working with Ms. Deaver on application issues that were present, the Office of Enforcement Counsel issued a notice of recommendation of denial of the application based on Ms. Deaver's failure to provide IRS transcripts to the Bureau of Investigations and Enforcement showing that she had filed federal income tax returns for certain years. A hearing was then held before the Board's Office of Hearings and Appeals on May 26, 2021. Ms. Deaver participated in that hearing but still did not provide confirmation that she had filed IRS tax returns for the years in question. Consequently, the hearing officer issued a report and recommendation before the board, and that report and recommendation is to be voted on today. It recommends that Ms. Deaver's renewal application be denied for her noncompliance. However, I'm happy to report that on December 1st, Ms. Deaver provided the Bureau of Licensing with confirmation that she filed federal tax returns for the years 2017 through 2020. This has brought her into substantial compliance, and the Office of Enforcement Counsel has indicated that they no longer object to her licensure. So to make the matter clear, since OEC is withdrawing its objection to licensure, what the board would want to do today in order to effectuate that would be to reject the report and recommendation based on this new information.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Mustia moves that the board reject the report and recommendation issued by the Office of Hearings and Appeals as described by the Office of Chief Counsel.
Commissioner Ralston seconds.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion is adopted.
The next report and recommendation before the board today pertains to Paul Gibson's request for permission to make early reapplication for a credential with the board. By way of background, during September of 2010, Mr. Gibson was issued a gaming employee occupation permit and worked as a security officer at the Parks Casino. He was terminated from that position in December of 2011 after it was discovered that he called in a bomb threat to Parks while he was on duty as a security officer. Consequently, OEC filed a complaint to revoke Mr. Gibson's gaming permit. A hearing was held on that matter in January of 2013, and the board issued an order revoking Mr. Gibson's gaming permit. 5 years later, on July 23, 2018, Mr. Gibson applied for a non-gaming registration to work as a food court attendant at the Valley Forge Casino. OEC issued a letter recommending denial of that application based upon the 2011 incident at Parks, Mr. Gibson's failure to disclose the 2011 incident at Parks on his application, and failure to disclose a 2013 driving under the influence charge. The board thereafter issued an order in July of 2019 denying Mr. Gibson's application. Under the board's regulations, a person whose application has been denied may not file a new application until 5 years have expired passed since the denial. However, an individual may petition the board for relief from that prohibition after 2 years have passed, which is the situation here. On August 13th, 2021, Mr. Gibson filed a petition before the board requesting the ability to apply for a credential. OEC filed an answer objecting to the request as 5 years hadn't passed, and there were no exceptional circumstances to warrant, in OEC's eyes, relief from the regulation. A hearing in this matter was held on September 28, 2021. Mr. Gibson appeared and testified on his own behalf. He stated that with regards to the 2011 bomb threat, he was immature and he thought it was a practical joke. But he now understands the consequences of his actions and he's sorry for those actions. He also stated that in not disclosing his 2013 DUI, that was simply an oversight because he did disclose a 2016 DUI. And he further testified that he has been gainfully employed since 2011, has had no issues with any of his employers, but would like to get back into the gaming industry. OEC presented testimony and documentary evidence at the hearing in support of their position, arguing that, as per the board's regulations, 5 years have not passed since his recommendation of denial, and he has not shown any extraordinary basis to allow him to reapply early. After hearing all of the evidence presented, a report and recommendation was issued by a hearing officer recommending that Mr. Gibson's request be granted and that he be allowed to reapply for a credential based upon the amount of time that has passed since the 2011 bomb threat, and that since the board was already aware of Mr. Gibson's conduct in 2011, that his non-disclosures really didn't harm the board. And this matter is now ripe for the board's consideration.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Commissioner Ralston moves that the board reject the report and recommendation issued by the Office of Hearings and Appeals regarding Paul Gibson's petition for early reapplication for a non-gaming employee registration as described by the Office of Chief Counsel.
Commissioner Regan seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted.
The next report and recommendation pertains to a request to recover funds confiscated while an individual with the initials MC was on both the self-exclusion list and involuntary exclusion list. A hearing in this matter was held on August 5th, 2021. OEC appeared and presented testimony and documentary evidence of that hearing. MC failed to appear. The evidence presented at the hearing established that on July 24th, 2013, MC placed himself on the self-exclusion list for a period of 1 year. Even after the year passed, he never sought removal from the self-exclusion list, so he remains on that list. Thereafter, the board placed MC on the involuntary exclusion list following a disorderly conduct incident at the Mohegan Sun Pocono Casino, where MC was present despite being self-excluded. In the petition before the board today, MC is asking that he be allowed to recover monies that was confiscated from him on June 12th, 2021, when he was found gaming at the Mount Airy Casino, again while on both the excluded and self-excluded lists. The evidence presented showed that $8,119 was confiscated from MC after he was discovered to be playing craps for several hours. The evidence further showed that MC's buy-in at the craps table was $200. After hearing all the evidence presented, the report and recommendation issued recommends that MC's request be granted in part and that he be permitted to recover the $200 buy-in, but that the remainder of the money be confiscated and used to support compulsive and problem gambling programs in the Commonwealth, which is a provision of the Gaming Act that provides that ability. And this matter is now ripe for the board's consideration.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Regan moves that the board adopt the report and recommendation issued by the Office of Hearings and Appeals regarding MC's petition for recovery of confiscated funds while on the exclusion lists. MC may recover $200 confiscated from him as that amount was not winnings.
Commissioner Dermody seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next report before today, or report and recommendation before the board today, pertains to a request for removal from the voluntary self-exclusion list. On May 12, 2012, an individual with the initials DP entered Rivers Casino Pittsburgh and met with the casino compliance representative to place himself on the self-exclusion list, selecting at that time a lifetime self-exclusion period. Subsequently, DP filed a petition with the board on July 8, 2021, requesting removal from the list. The Office of Enforcement Counsel filed an answer objecting to this request. A hearing in this matter was held on August 31, 2021. OEC appeared presenting testimony and documentary evidence. DP also appeared and testified on his own behalf. The evidence provided by OEC showed that a casino compliance representative conducted the mandatory interview of DP, explained the process of being placed on the list, the exclusion list, and the consequences of a lifetime period of self-exclusion. DP, during his testimony, admitted that he'd completed all the self-exclusion documents and that, in fact, on August 24th, 2015, he admitted that he violated his self-exclusion at the Rivers Casino in Pittsburgh. He further testified that at the time he placed himself on the list, he was having mental health issues and was under the care of a physician. However, DP did not provide any supporting documentation to support that claim. As required by board regulations, DP also provided with his petition documentation signed by a certified mental health provider who assessed him for problem gambling, stating that he found that treatment was not necessary. However, upon examination, it was shown that the state certification of the provider in question had in fact expired in 2019. After hearing all of the evidence presented, a report and recommendation was issued recommending that DP's request for removal from the self-exclusion list be denied, based both upon his failure to wait the full 10 years, I think it was like 9.5 years when he petitioned, as well as the fact that he did not present a valid assessment form with his petition. And so the recommendation is that his petition be denied and is now ripe for consideration.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Dermody moves that the board adopt the report and recommendation issued by the Office of Hearings and Appeals regarding DP's petition for removal from the self-exclusion lists, and that the DP remain on the self-exclusion list.
Commissioner Manzano-Diaz, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted.
The final report and recommendation before the board today pertains to Talit Sofian. By way of background, on October 19th, 2020, the Office of Enforcement Counsel filed a petition to place Ms. Sofian on the board's involuntary exclusion list after it was discovered that, Mr. Sofian was involved in 2 incidents at Sands, Bethlehem, now Wind Creek. The first incident occurred on January 29th, 2019, when Mr. Sofian was caught both pinching and capping wagers at a blackjack table. As a result of these actions, Mr. Sofian was ejected from the casino. Later that year, on December 9th of 2019, Mr. Sofian was back at the Sands Casino and was found to have used a screwdriver to break open a chip float at a closed blackjack table, removing $15,500 worth of chips and then attempting to cash them in. As a result of his actions, Mr. Sofian was charged with theft-related offenses and ultimately entered into an ARD program to resolve those criminal charges. After 2 continuance requests by Mr. Sofian, a hearing in this matter was held on September 23rd, 2021. OEC appeared, offering testimony and documentary evidence. Mr. Sofian appeared and testified on his own behalf. Essentially, he testified that in regards to the January 2019 incident involving skimming and capping wagers, that he simply didn't understand the rules of blackjack, and that's what led to his actions. Relative to the break-in to the chip float and stealing $15,500 in chips, he testified that he was suffering from mental health issues at that time. However, he too provided no documentary evidence to support that claim. Based upon the evidence presented, the report and recommendation issued recommends that Mr. Sofian be placed on the board's involuntary exclusion list, and that matter is now ripe for the board's consideration.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Commissioner Ralston moves that the board adopt the report and recommendation issued by the Office of Hearings and Appeals regarding the placement of Talit Sofian on PGCB's involuntary exclusion list as described by the Office of Chief Counsel, and that Mr. Sofian be placed on the list.
Commissioner Manzano-Diaz, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted. Thank you, Steve. Next, we have the Bureau of Licensing Matters with Director Sean Hannon. Sean?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. Before the board today will be license consideration of 1 Category 1 renewal, 1 slot machine supplier, 1 table game supplier, 1 video game terminal operator, and 1 video game terminal establishment. In addition, there will be 1,013 principals, key employees, gaming and non-gaming employees, as well as qualifier applicants. Finally, there will be consideration of 19 gaming service providers. The first matter for your consideration is the renewal of the Chester Downs and Marina LLC Category 1 license. The license renewal hearing for this entity is now complete. The Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement has completed its investigation of the company, and the Bureau of Licensing has provided you with a background investigation and suitability report regarding the renewal. As a result, the license renewal is ready for your consideration. I have provided you with a draft order and asked the board consider the order to renew the Category 1 license for Chester Downs and Marina LLC.
The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Manzano-Diaz moves that the board grant the Category 1 license renewal as described by the Bureau of Licensing and the conditions of licensure proposed by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Mustillo seconds.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted.
Next for consideration is JCM American Corporation doing business as JCM Global for a slot machine supplier license and a table game supplier license. JCM American Corporation is a Las Vegas, Nevada-based company that sells, installs, and services slot machine and table game-related equipment. The Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement has completed its investigation of the company, and the Bureau of Licensing has provided you with a background investigation and suitability report. I have provided you with a draft order and asked the board first consider the order to approve JCM American Corporation for a slot machine supplier license.
The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection.
Any questions or comments from the board? May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Mustillo moves that the board grant the slot machine supplier license as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Ralston seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted.
Next would be the consideration for JCM's table game supplier license.
The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Commissioner Ralston moves that the board grant the table game supplier license as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Regan seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted.
Next is a video game terminal operator license for Legacy Gaming LLC. A VGT operator owns, services, or maintains VGTs for placement and operation at truck stop establishments. Legacy Gaming LLC was previously issued a conditional VGT operator license. The Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement has completed its investigation, and the Bureau of Licensing has provided you with a background investigation and suitability report. I have provided you with a draft order and ask that you consider the order to license Legacy Gaming LLC.
The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Regan moves that the board grant the video gaming terminal operator license as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Dermody, second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
In addition, we have consideration of a VGT establishment license for Dandy Mini Mart Incorporated in Monroeton. VGT establishments are truck stops seeking to have a terminal operator licensee place VGTs at their location. Dandy Mini Mart was previously conditionally licensed. The Bureau of Investigation and Enforcement has now completed its investigation, including evaluation that the applicant meets the VGT establishment eligibility criteria in the Gaming Act. The Bureau of Licensing has provided you with a background investigation and suitability report. Once fully licensed, an establishment can continue forward toward completing the steps necessary to commence VGT gaming. I have provided you with a draft order and ask that you consider the order to license Dandy Mini Mart Incorporated, which is located at 510 James Monroe Avenue in Monroeton.
The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection.
Any questions or comments from the board? May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Dermody moves that the board grant the video gaming terminal establishment license as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Mustillo seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted.
Also, there are principal, key employee, and qualifier licenses. The Bureau of Licensing provided you with a proposed order for 11 principals, 13 key employees, and 1 qualifier. I ask that the board consider the order approving these licenses.
The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Commissioner Ralston moves that the board grant the principal and key employee and qualifier licenses as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Manzano Diaz seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted.
There are also temporary licenses. The Bureau of Licensing provided you with an order regarding the issuance of a temporary license for 4 principal and 20 key employees. I ask that the board consider the order approving these licenses.
The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection.
Any questions or comments from the board? May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Manzano Diaz moves that the board grant the temporary principal and key employee credentials as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Mustillo seconds.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Next are gaming permits and non-gaming registrations. The Bureau of Licensing has provided you with a list of 609 individuals to whom the Bureau has granted temporary or full occupation permits, and 270 individuals to whom the Bureau has granted registrations under the authority delegated to the Bureau of Licensing. I ask that the board consider a motion approving the order.
The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Mustillo moves that the board approve the applications for gaming employee occupation permits and non-gaming employee registrations as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Ralston seconds.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion is adopted.
There is also a recommendation of denial for 1 gaming service provider and 2 qualifiers. The applicants were notified that they were being recommended for denial and failed to request a hearing within the specified time frame. The Bureau of Licensing has provided you with the orders addressing the applicants who the Office of Enforcement Counsel has recommended for denial. I ask that the board consider the orders approving the denials.
The Office of Enforcement Counsel continues to request denial in these matters.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Commissioner Ralston moves that the board deny the gaming service provider and qualifier applications as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Regan seconds.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion is adopted.
The next matters for your consideration are withdrawal requests. In each case, the license, permit, or registration is no longer required. For today's meeting, I have provided the board with 1 key employee, 46 gaming, and 12 non-gaming employee applicants. I ask that the board consider the orders approving these withdrawals.
The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Regan moves that the board grant the withdrawal of key gaming and non-gaming employee applications as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Dermody seconds.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
Next, we have an order to certify the following 10 gaming service providers: Continent 8 LLC, Finder Media BV, Humdinger Enterprises LLC, JR MSPD LLC, Metric Gaming Services Limited, No Limit Steaks LLC doing business as Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, Reardon Steel Fabrication Incorporated, Shamrock Building Services Incorporated, SharpLink Incorporated, and the Savvy Group LLC. I have provided you with a draft order and ask that the board consider the order certifying these gaming service providers.
The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Dermody moves that the board approve the gaming service provider certifications as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Manzano Diaz second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Finally, for consideration are gaming service provider registrations. The Bureau of Licensing provided you with an order and an attached list of 9 registered gaming service provider applicants. I ask that the board consider the order registering these gaming service providers.
The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection.
Any questions or comments from the board? May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Regan moves that the board approve the gaming service provider registrations as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Manzano Diaz second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion is adopted.
This concludes the Bureau of Licensing matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. We will now hear from Chief Enforcement Counsel Cyrus Petrie.
Good morning.
Cyrus.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. The Office of Enforcement Counsel will present 4 matters today for the board's consideration, in which we will request the approval of 2 suspensions and 2 involuntary exclusions. The next 2 matters on the agenda consist of enforcement actions in which the Office of Enforcement Counsel filed complaints seeking the suspension of 2 gaming employee occupation permits issued by the board. The complaints have been filed with the board's Office of Hearings and Appeal and properly served upon the individual named in each complaint. The individual named in each complaint failed to respond within 30 days as required by board regulation. As a result, the Office of Enforcement Counsel filed a request for default judgment in each instance and properly served the same upon each respondent. Therefore, the facts in each complaint are deemed admitted. All filed documents have been provided to the board, and the matters are presently ripe for the board's consideration. In each matter, we will provide a brief summary of the facts and make a request for the appropriate board action.
Good morning, Thomas Monahan, M-O-N-A-G-H-A-N, with the Office of Enforcement Counsel. The next matter on the agenda for the board's consideration is the suspension of the gaming employee occupation permit issued to Charles Pranulis. Mr. Pranulis was approved for a gaming employee occupation permit and agreed to a special condition of licensure. Mr. Pranulis failed to comply with the special condition of licensure despite being contacted on numerous occasions by board staff requesting compliance. Subsequently, OEC issued Mr. Pranulis a demand letter giving him 30 days to comply with this special condition. More than 30 days has since passed, and to date, Mr. Pranulis has not complied with this special condition of licensure. Mr. Pranulis is currently employed by NRT Technology Group as a field technician. At this time, the Office of Enforcement Counsel requests the board suspend the gaming employee occupation permit issued to Charles Pranulis pending compliance with this special statement of condition.
Any questions or comments from the board? May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Manzano-Diaz moves that the board approve the suspension of Charles Pranulis, gaming employee occupation permit for the conduct described by the Office of Enforcement Counsel.
Commissioner Mustillo seconds.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion is adopted.
The next matter on the agenda for the board's consideration is the suspension of the gaming employee occupation permit issued to Elliot Tucker. Mr. Tucker was previously employed as a table games dealer at Rivers, Philadelphia. Mr. Tucker was approved for a gaming employee occupation permit and agreed to a special condition of licensure. Mr. Tucker failed to comply with the special condition of licensure and was contacted on numerous occasions by board staff requesting compliance. Subsequently, OEC issued Mr. Tucker a demand letter giving him 30 days to comply with the special condition. More than 30 days has since passed, and to date, Mr. Tucker has not complied with the special condition of licensure. Mr. Tucker is not currently employed in Pennsylvania's gaming industry. At this time, the Office of Enforcement Counsel requests that the board suspend the gaming employee occupation permit issued to Elliot Tucker pending compliance with the special condition.
Any questions or comments from the board? May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Mustillo moves that the board approve the suspension of Elliot Tucker's gaming employee occupation permit for the conduct described by the Office of Enforcement Counsel.
Commissioner Ralston seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted.
The remaining matters on the agenda consist of enforcement actions in which the Office of Enforcement Counsel filed petitions seeking the involuntary exclusion of individuals whose presence in a licensed facility are inimical to the interests of the Commonwealth and are licensed gaming therein. In each instance, the petition for exclusion has been filed with the Board's Office of Hearings and Appeal and properly served upon the individual named in the petition. The individual named in each petition failed to respond within 30 days as required by board regulation. As a result, the Office of Enforcement Counsel filed a request for default judgment in each instance and properly served the same upon each individual. Therefore, all facts in each petition are deemed admitted, all filed documents have been provided to the board, and the matters are presently ripe for the board's consideration. In each instance, if the board orders a proposed exclusion, each individual's photo, personal identifiers, and a summary of the inimical conduct may be placed on the board's public website. Once again, in each matter, we will provide a brief summary of the facts and make a request for the appropriate board action.
Thomas Monahan, once again with the Office of Enforcement Counsel. The next matter on the agenda for the board's consideration is a request to place Victor Mariera on the board's involuntary exclusion list. Mr. Mariera stole the purse of a patron at Wind Creek, Bethlehem, as he was assisting the wheelchair-bound patron to her vehicle. Mr. Mariera was criminally charged and permanently evicted from Wind Creek for his actions. At this time, the Office of Enforcement Counsel requests the board place Victor Mariera on the board's involuntary exclusion list.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Commissioner Ralston moves that the board approve the addition of Victor Mariana to the PGCB involuntary exclusion list for the conduct described by the Office of Enforcement Counsel.
Commissioner Regan seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. John Crowe, C-R-O-H-E, for the Office of Enforcement Counsel. The final matter for the board's consideration is a petition to exclude Jack Johnson IV. Mr. Johnson robbed a Rivers Philadelphia patron in the Rivers Philadelphia parking lot. The victim's purse, which contained approximately $50, assorted identification cards, and a bank card, was stolen by Mr. Johnson and a co-conspirator. The matter is now before the board to consider the placement of Jack Johnson IV on the board's involuntary exclusion list.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Regan moves that the board approve the addition of Jack Johnson IV to the PGCB involuntary exclusion list for the conduct described by the Office of Enforcement Counsel.
Commissioner Dermody seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is adopted.
Thank you. That concludes our business. I wish everyone a happy holiday.
Happy holiday to you,
Thank you.
As well.
So the last item on the agenda today is public comment. I don't believe anyone has signed up in advance to speak. However, if there is anyone in the room that would like to address the board, please come forward at this time. Okay, well, that concludes today's meeting. It's the final meeting of 2021. The next public meeting of the board will be held on Wednesday, January 19th, 2022 at 10 a.m. at this location. Before we move to adjourn, I would like to wish everyone a happy, healthy, and safe holiday season, a joyous new year, and we look forward to seeing you again next year. And with that, may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Dermody moves that we adjourn this meeting.
Commissioner Manzano-Diaz seconds.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Sean. Have a good holiday.
Thank you, you too.